The skies above the Zephyrian homeworld were ablaze, streaked with the relentless assault of the Veltharan warships. The air was filled with an overwhelming hum as each blast from the enemy ships broke the silence with a deafening roar. Buildings collapsed one after another, and once lively cities were now shadows of their former selves. The ground shook and fires erupted everywhere, consuming homes, schools, and even hospitals where the wounded lay helpless. The Zephyrians, a proud and peaceful race, had never seen such destruction. They had always lived with harmony and dignity, surrounded by beautiful landscapes and towering crystal structures that symbolized their advanced civilization. But today all they could see was smoke and ruin. Inside a massive underground bunker, the leaders of the Zephyrian Council gathered. Faces etched with worry, they were panicking and arguing. Their calm, wise expressions were now replaced by fear and helplessness. They were powerful, yes, but against the mighty Veltharan Empire their strength seemed to dwindle. The Veltharans were known across the galaxy for their ruthless expansion, conquering world after world, leaving only devastation in their path. For years, the Zephyrians had hoped that they might avoid the attention of such a brutal enemy. But that hope had been shattered the moment the Veltharans appeared in their skies, declaring their intentions to conquer and rule. In the center of the room stood Commander Vela, a high-ranking military leader and one of the bravest Zephyrians. She was taller than most, with an aura of strength and determination that few could match. Vela's piercing green eyes scanned the room, taking in the fear that had overtaken her people. She clenched her fists, her heart aching as she thought of the destruction outside. But for her, the pain went deeper than just seeing her people suffer. Her family, her young daughter and elderly father, were still out there, in the middle of the city, trapped as the Veltharans closed in. "Enough!" Vela's voice cut through the noise of panicked arguments. "We need a plan! Sitting here and arguing will not save our people." The council members fell silent, all eyes turning to Vela. But their silence was one of despair. They had already tried every strategy, deployed every weapon. Their last line of defense was already collapsing. It felt like there was no hope left. A frail, elderly council member shook his head slowly. "Commander Vela, we have tried everything in our power. Our weapons are no match for their fleet. Their technology? It is simply too powerful." Another counselor added, "We would need an army 10 times our size to even make a dent in their forces." Vela took a deep breath, struggling to contain her emotions. She had fought in many battles, but she had never faced an enemy this relentless, this merciless. And now her people, the people she had sworn to protect, were on the brink of extinction. She couldn't bear the thought of losing everything and everyone she loved. Suddenly, an idea flashed in her mind, one that seemed both absurd and yet just possible. She thought of a distant planet she had studied in her youth, a planet full of people known for their courage and unpredictable spirit, a world that was considered primitive by many, yet one that held a certain mysterious strength. "Earth. We may be out of options here," Vela began, her voice calm but firm. "But there is one last chance, one last hope." She paused, letting the silence build suspense among the council members. "We can call upon the humans." The room erupted again, but this time with shock and disbelief. Humans? The primitive species from that distant planet? The council had always looked down on humans, viewing them as less developed and unworthy of intergalactic alliances. But Vela continued, ignoring the murmurs. "They may lack our technology, but they have something we don't," Vela said, a spark of hope igniting in her voice. "Humans are known for their resilience. They are fighters. They've survived against odds that seemed impossible." A younger counselor, full of doubt, scoffed. "And what do you expect these humans to do, Commander? Do you think they can perform miracles against the Veltharans?" Vela's eyes narrowed. "I don't know, but I would rather place my faith in those who refuse to surrender than sit here waiting for the end." Her words struck a chord, and the room fell silent again, this time with a flicker of hope. Desperation filled the air, but for the first time, there was also a tiny spark of possibility. The council finally agreed to send a distress signal to Earth, hoping against hope that the humans would respond. As Vela pressed the button to transmit the message, she silently prayed. They were out of time, out of options, and on the edge of oblivion. If the humans didn't respond, this could very well be the end of the Zephyrians. But Vela refused to give in to despair. If anyone can surprise the galaxy, she thought, it's the humans. The air in the Zephyrian bunker was thick with tension as the Council waited for a response from Earth. Vela paced back and forth, her mind racing with thoughts of what was to come. She knew that reaching out to humans was a gamble. Many of her people viewed them as weak, primitive, and untrustworthy. Yet deep inside, Vela felt that there was something special about humanity, something that could turn the tide in their favor. Days passed slowly, filled with anxiety and fear. The Veltharan ships continued their relentless assault, and the situation outside grew worse with each passing hour. Just when hope seemed to fade, a flickering light on the communication console caught Vela's attention. The humans were responding. With her heart pounding, Vela rushed to the console and activated the screen. The image of a human commander appeared, a middle-aged man with short brown hair and a determined look in his eyes. He wore a uniform adorned with patches that signified rank and experience. This was Captain Mark, the leader of the human response team. "Commander Vela, we received your distress signal," Captain Mark began, his voice steady. "Your situation is dire, but we are ready to help." Vela felt a rush of relief wash over her. "Thank you, Captain. We are in desperate need of assistance. The Veltharans are strong and our forces are dwindling. We have no time to waste." Mark nodded, his expression serious. "We will send a fleet to your coordinates. But first, we need to understand your technology and your strategies. We must work together closely if we are to have any chance of defeating the Veltharans." Vela knew that this alliance would be risky. She had heard tales of humans' bravery, but she also knew their technology was not as advanced as hers. How would they work together? She couldn't afford to let her doubt show. "Understood, Captain," Vela replied, her voice firm. "We will share everything we know. I believe our combined efforts can make a difference." As the days turned into a week, the humans arrived with their fleet. Vela watched as the human ships entered Zephyrian space, their sleek designs contrasting with the Zephyrian ships. She noticed that the humans carried a sense of purpose, but also an air of nervousness. They were stepping into a fight against a powerful enemy, one they had never faced before. The human fleet landed on the outskirts of the main city, where Vela met Captain Mark in person. He stepped out of his ship, looking both determined and nervous. "Commander Vela, it's an honor to meet you," he said, extending a hand. Vela shook his hand firmly. "The honor is mine, Captain. We are grateful for your support." The two commanders began to discuss battle strategies, sharing knowledge about their respective technologies and strengths. Vela explained the advanced weaponry of the Zephyrians, while Mark detailed human tactics, which often relied on quick thinking and adaptability. As they worked together, cultural differences became apparent. Vela noticed how humans expressed themselves with strong emotions, laughing loudly or showing frustration openly. In contrast, Zephyrians communicated with a calm and collected demeanor, their emotions often hidden beneath a surface of tranquility. At first, there were misunderstandings. During one training exercise, a human pilot accidentally fired a weapon that nearly hit a Zephyrian ship. The tension in the room spiked, and Vela's heart raced as she feared their fragile alliance might crumble before it even began. But Mark quickly intervened, laughing off the incident. "Let's just say we're still getting used to your advanced systems. No harm done, right?" Vela admired his ability to lighten the mood, and slowly the walls between their two races began to dissolve. They shared meals, exchanged stories, and learned about each other's cultures. Vela discovered that humans had their own stories of struggle and resilience, tales of standing up against impossible odds. As the days went on, their teamwork began to flourish. They developed a new battle plan, merging human tactics with Zephyrian technology. Together, they designed weapons that combined the strength of both races. Mark was particularly fascinated by the energy shields that the Zephyrians used. "If we can enhance these with our propulsion systems, we could create a defensive barrier that even the Veltharans can't breach," he suggested with excitement. Vela watched as Mark's enthusiasm inspired his crew. She felt her own hope rekindling. Perhaps this alliance could work. However, as preparations for battle continued, the shadow of doubt still lingered in the back of Vela's mind. Would the humans truly be able to hold their own against the Veltharans? The risk of relying on an unfamiliar ally weighed heavily on her. As the final day of preparation arrived, Vela gathered her people for a motivational speech. "We face an enemy that seeks to destroy us," she declared, her voice resonating in the hearts of her people. "But together, With our human allies, we can show the galaxy that we will not go down without a fight. With renewed determination, both the Zephyrians and humans stood side by side, ready to face the coming storm. They were united now, not just by necessity, but by a growing bond forged in the heat of preparation. The moment of truth was approaching, and with it, the chance to reclaim their home and save their worlds. As they looked out at the vastness of space, Vela felt a flicker of hope. Together, they might just be strong enough to change their fate. The day of the human fleet's arrival dawned bright and tense. Commander Vela stood on the observation deck of the main Zephyrian command center, looking out at the vast expanse of space. Her heart raced with anticipation and anxiety. The skies above her planet were no longer filled with the sounds of explosions, but with the whispers of hope. She could barely contain her excitement. Today was the day that everything could change. As the minutes ticked by, Vela watched through the large windows as small specks began to appear in the distance. They grew larger and larger, transforming into the unmistakable shapes of human ships. Each ship was different from the sleek, elegant designs of Zephyrian vessels. They were more rugged and practical, built for speed and agility. Their colors, grays, greens, and blues, contrasted sharply against the brilliant backdrop of space. Vela felt a mix of admiration and apprehension. Would these humans really be able to help them? She recalled her doubts about forming an alliance with a race she had always viewed as primitive. But as the ships neared, she felt a spark of hope flicker inside her. She wanted to believe that they could work together. When the human ships finally landed, Vela and her team rushed to greet them. The atmosphere was electric with excitement and uncertainty. As the ramp of the lead ship lowered, Captain Mark stepped out, flanked by a team of human soldiers. Vela noted the way he held himself, confident yet cautious, as if he were stepping into the unknown. "Commander Vela," he called out, a broad smile spreading across his face. "It's good to finally be here." Vela nodded, returning the smile. "Welcome to Zephyria, Captain. We're glad you made it." As they shook hands, Vela observed the human soldiers behind Mark. They were a diverse group, with different skin colors and hairstyles, dressed in uniforms that looked both practical and intimidating. Each one had a determined look in their eyes, ready for whatever challenge lay ahead. Vela could see that these humans were not just fighters. They were a team, united in purpose. "Let's get started," Mark said, his voice filled with energy. "We need to get familiar with your systems and lay out a plan for the upcoming battle. Time is of the essence." Vela led Mark and his team to the command center, where large holographic displays flickered to life, showcasing the current situation on the planet. The screens depicted the devastation inflicted by the Veltharans, with red markers indicating enemy positions. Vela pointed out key areas of concern, explaining the strengths and weaknesses of their defenses. "From what I see," Mark said, examining the holograms, "we need to strike swiftly and decisively. Your technology is advanced, but we must also utilize our human ingenuity to create unexpected strategies." Vela was impressed by his analytical approach. "Yes, we need to create distractions. If we can draw the Veltharans away from our main defenses, we can hit them where they least expect it." The two leaders quickly fell into a rhythm, brainstorming ideas and mapping out plans. As they spoke, Vela could feel the tension in the air begin to shift. The humans had a boldness about them, a willingness to take risks that was refreshing and invigorating. This could be the partnership they needed to survive. After hours of intense planning, the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the command center. It was a beautiful sight, but it reminded Vela of the darkness looming outside. The Veltharans were still a threat, and time was running out. As the Veltharan ships emerged from the darkness, their ominous forms loomed closer. They were larger, with sharp angles and menacing designs that spoke of their power. Vela felt a chill run down her spine, but she pushed the fear away. They had trained for this, and she would not let her people down. "Prepare to engage!" Vela shouted, gripping her control panel. She felt the ship vibrate beneath her as it powered up, ready for battle. She could see the enemy ships firing their weapons, bright beams of energy streaking toward them. "Brace for impact!" she yelled, and the crew instinctively held onto their stations. The first shots hit the energy shields, creating bright flashes as they absorbed the blast. Vela felt a rush of adrenaline as she maneuvered her ship, dodging and weaving to avoid enemy fire. "Return fire!" Mark commanded from his ship, and the human fleet responded with a flurry of weapons. Bright lasers shot out, striking the Veltharons and lighting up the dark expanse of space. Vela watched in awe as the human ships executed complex maneuvers, showcasing their agility and skill. The battle raged on, with explosions illuminating the darkness of space. Vela could hear the sounds of her crew working together, shouting orders and coordinating their attacks. "We need to focus on their lead ship," she called out. "That's where their commander will be." As they pressed forward, Vela felt a surge of determination. They were fighting for their survival, for their homes, and for each other. The thought of her people relying on her fueled her spirit. She would not back down. Suddenly, a human ship was hit, spiraling out of control. Vela's heart sank as she watched it disappear in a blaze of fire. "Mark, we need to support them!" she shouted over the comms. "On it," he replied. The humans rallied together, coordinating their firepower to cover their wounded allies. Vela admired their teamwork, their courage shining through the chaos. As the battle continued, Vela's strategy began to pay off. Their energy shields held strong, and with each passing moment they pushed the Veltharans back. The enemy's formation started to falter, and Vela felt a spark of hope igniting within her. "Let's finish this!" she cried, urging her ship forward. The Veltharans were regrouping, and now was the time to strike. With a powerful blast from their combined forces, they aimed at the lead ship, targeting its weak points. The impact was tremendous. The lead Veltharan ship shook violently, sparks flying from its hull. Vela's heart raced as she watched the enemy ship falter, then explode in a dazzling display of light. "We did it!" she shouted, exhilaration flooding her veins. But even as they celebrated, Vela knew the battle was far from over. More Veltharan ships were approaching, and they would not back down easily. She turned to her crew, determination etched on her face. "This is only the beginning. We must stay strong and fight with all our might." As the enemy continued to advance, Vela and her allies prepared for the next wave. Together they would face the darkness head-on, proving that even in the most desperate moments, hope could shine through. The fight for their world had just begun, and they were ready to stand united against any challenge that lay ahead. As the battle continued to rage around them, Vela's heart pounded with determination. The first wave of Veltharan ships had suffered losses, but many more were still coming. The sky was filled with flashes of light as beams of energy collided and exploded in vibrant colors. Smoke and debris floated in the cold darkness of space, reminding everyone of the stakes involved. "Commander, we've taken out 2 more enemy ships, but they keep coming," one of her officers shouted, his voice filled with urgency. Vela could see the strain on everyone's faces, both Zephyrian and human. They had pushed hard, but the Veltharans were relentless. "Stay focused!" she yelled, trying to inspire her team. "We can't let up now! We've already proven we can fight back. We need to turn this into a victory!" Mark's voice came through the comms. "Vela, we need to change our tactics. If we keep fighting them head-on, we'll wear ourselves out. Let's outsmart them!" Vela nodded, understanding what he meant. "Let's create a distraction. We can use our cloaking devices to confuse them. We'll split our forces, and while they focus on one group, the other can hit them from behind." "Great idea," Mark replied enthusiastically. "I'll lead one group while you take the other. Let's show them the power of our alliance." With renewed energy, Vela quickly organized her fleet. She could see the human ships readying themselves for the new plan, their confidence shining through the chaos. Vela felt a sense of pride. They were no longer just allies. They were a team. "All right, everyone," Vela addressed her crew. "We're going to confuse the Veltharans. Stick to the plan and stay in communication. We can win this if we work together." The Zephyrian and human ships moved into position, ready to implement their new strategy. As they cloaked themselves, Vela felt a mix of excitement and fear. The moment of truth was at hand. Would the Veltharans fall for their trick? As the cloaking devices activated, their ships vanished from sight, blending seamlessly with the stars. Vela held her breath as they approached the enemy fleet, now focused on their earlier attack. They were unaware of the danger lurking just out of sight. "On my mark," Mark said quietly over the comms.
3,
2, 1, now! The cloaked ships emerged from their hiding places, unleashing a barrage of fire onto the Veltharan fleet. Bright lasers lit up the darkness, striking enemy ships with precision. Vela's heart soared as she watched the confusion unfold among the Veltharans. They were not prepared for this surprise attack. Keep it up! Vela shouted, feeling the rush of adrenaline. We can do this! The Veltharans were caught off guard, struggling to reposition their ships as chaos erupted in their ranks. Vela and her crew pressed their advantage, dodging incoming fire and targeting enemy vessels with renewed focus. They had finally turned the tide of the battle. Look out! One of her crew members shouted, pointing at an approaching Veltharan ship. Vela quickly maneuvered her ship to avoid the blast, feeling the jolt as they narrowly escaped. Focus on that ship! Mark ordered from his ship. Let's finish what we started. They aimed their weapons, firing in unison. The ship erupted into flames, and Vela could hardly believe the sight. It felt like a dream, and yet the reality of battle was all around them. As the tide turned further in their favor, the Zephyrian and human forces pressed their attack. The Veltharans were starting to panic. Vela noticed that their formations were breaking apart, and they were losing control. Each victory emboldened her and her crew, pushing them to fight harder. But even in their triumph, Vela knew they couldn't let their guard down. Stay vigilant, she commanded. They'll regroup and retaliate. Just as she spoke, a massive Veltharan ship broke from the main fleet, heading straight for them. Its size was intimidating, and it fired a series of powerful blasts that illuminated the dark space like fireworks. Vela's heart sank for a moment. This could be a dangerous turning point. Form up, she shouted, rallying her team. We need to combine our firepower. Mark's voice came through with urgency. We can take it down. Everyone aim for its power core. We need to disable it. Vela's crew worked quickly, focusing all their fire on the massive ship. Beams of energy converged on the enemy's power core, a bright target at the center of the ship. The intensity of the battle seemed to reach a fever pitch, the sounds of weapon fire and explosions blending into a chaotic symphony. With a final massive shot from their combined forces, the power core of the Veltharan ship erupted in a brilliant explosion. The ship shuddered and then broke apart, scattering debris in all directions. Vela couldn't help but cheer with her crew, exhilaration washing over her. We're doing it! She exclaimed, feeling a rush of hope. We're turning the tide! But even as they celebrated, she knew the battle was not over. The remaining Veltharan ships began to retreat, but they were still dangerous. Don't let them escape, she called out. We need to end this now. With a fierce determination, the Zephyrian and human forces pressed on, chasing after the fleeing enemy ships. They would not allow the Veltharans to regroup and attack again. Vela could see the strength of their alliance in action, and it filled her with hope for the future. Vela glanced at Mark, who was smiling with pride. We did it, she said, her voice filled with joy. Yes, we did, he replied, his eyes shining. And this is just the beginning. With renewed strength, they prepared for the next challenge ahead. They had proven that when united, they could overcome even the greatest of odds. The fight for their world was far from over, but now they had each other. Together, they would face whatever came next. The battle had ended, but the echoes of explosions still lingered in Vela's ears. The silence that followed was almost surreal. Ships floated in the vastness of space, many damaged but still holding strong. The Veltharan fleet had retreated, leaving behind a battlefield that now felt like a testament to their bravery and unity. Vela couldn't believe it. They had fought back against a powerful enemy, and they had won. Report! Vela commanded, her heart racing as she took stock of her crew. She could see fatigue etched on their faces, but also a glimmer of hope and pride. Everyone was eager to hear the news. Commander? We suffered some losses, one of her officers reported, his voice steady despite the grim news. But our alliance with the humans has proven effective. We managed to take down many enemy ships, and their retreat is confirmed. Vela nodded, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. They had lost friends and comrades, and the weight of their sacrifice would linger in her heart. But she also felt a strong sense of gratitude. Together, they had turned the tide against the Veltharans, and that was something to hold on to. Prepare for a debriefing, she said, looking around at her crew. We need to analyze our tactics and understand what worked and what didn't. We can't afford to be complacent. As the crew began to gather information, Vela turned her thoughts to Mark and the humans. She had come to respect and admire them in a way she never expected. They had fought valiantly beside the Zephyrians, showing courage and determination in the face of danger. She quickly made her way to Mark's ship, eager to share her thoughts. Mark! She called over the comms. Can we meet? I'd like to discuss our next steps. Absolutely, Vela. Meet me in the hangar bay. I've got some ideas, Mark replied, his voice warm and inviting. When Vela arrived at the hangar bay, she found Mark waiting for her. He was leaning against his ship, looking tired but relieved. "We did it," he said, a smile breaking across his face. "We really did it." Vela smiled back, feeling her spirits lift. "Yes, we did! But we still have a long way to go. The Veltharans won't give up easily." "I know," Mark agreed, his expression turning serious. "But we've shown them that we can fight back. This victory gives us a chance to strengthen our alliance. We need to prepare for whatever they throw at us next." Vela nodded, appreciating his insight. "We should focus on training together. Combining our strategies and technologies will make us stronger. If we work as one, we can face any threat." Mark's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. "I love that idea. Let's organize joint training exercises. It will not only help us understand each other's tactics better, but also build trust among our forces." As they discussed their plans, Vela felt a sense of hope blooming within her. This was more than just a military alliance. It was a partnership built on respect and understanding. They were no longer alone in this fight. With the humans by their side, they had a fighting chance against any enemy. Days turned into weeks, and the training sessions began. Zephyrian and human soldiers worked side by side, sharing knowledge and skills. Vela watched as they learned from each other, their differences becoming strengths. The humans brought creativity and resourcefulness, while the Zephyrians offered advanced technology and strategy. Together, they forged a new kind of warrior, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. During one of the training sessions, Vela found herself sparring with Mark. They practiced hand-to-hand combat, each trying to outmaneuver the other. It was intense but also fun. They laughed as they exchanged blows, both pushing themselves to be better. "You're pretty good at this," Mark said, breathless but smiling. Vela grinned. "You're not so bad yourself for a human." As they took a break, Vela looked out at the stars, reflecting on how far they had come. It was a new dawn for both their peoples. No longer were they just fighting for survival, they were fighting for a future, one where they could coexist and thrive together. But there were still whispers of the Veltharans in the dark corners of space. They were regrouping and planning their next move. Vela knew they would need to be ready for anything. One evening, as the sun set on their home planet, Vela gathered her people and the human allies for a celebration. They shared stories of their victories and losses, laughing and bonding over their shared experiences. The atmosphere was filled with hope and determination, a stark contrast to the fear they had felt just weeks before. "Tonight, we stand together as allies, as friends," Vela announced, raising her glass. "Let us toast to our victory, to our partnership, and to the future we will build together." The cheers echoed through the gathering, a powerful sound that filled Vela with joy. They had faced darkness and emerged stronger. A new dawn was breaking, and with it came the promise of hope, unity, and a future free from fear. As the stars twinkled above, Vela felt a deep sense of peace. They had forged an alliance that would not only protect them, but also change the course of their history. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, united in their mission to create a better tomorrow. The fight was far from over, but now they had each other. With the humans by their side, Vela knew they were ready for whatever came next. And as the dawn broke on a new day, they prepared to defend their world and fight for their future.